Welcome everyone, my name is Can Elik and this is my garage DRIVEN34. Today I'd like to take you on a tour of my private BMW M car collection located here in Istanbul, Turkey. Since I'm an architect by trade, I built up this place to my own liking. It started like a hobby garage, man cave, but turned out to be a little community center where my friends come along, they hang out, we have fun, we talk about cars, we are getting busy on cars. But overall, it's just a place where I went out, to be honest. And I like to start with the M cars, and this is the first one on the list. This is a 2004 BMW M3 CSL. Some of you may know it. It's the track version of the famous E46 M3. They were only imported to Europe, Middle East, and the rest of the world except for US. And there was only 1,382 of them ever made. And this is car 805. It was originally a Turkish car, Turkish market car. I own it for the last 9 to 10 years. It's a blast, it's amazing. It's simply a lightweight version of the M3. It's 110 kilograms lighter than a standard M3 and with only 17 more horsepower. But don't let the numbers fool you. Those little differences make a big impact, especially on track. I love it to bits. It's the fastest car in my collection, both in feel and with facts. It's pure joy to drive, especially on track, as I mentioned. I've been to many road trips with this car. This car has seen Nürburgring twice. So one thing I do with all my cars, I take them on big long trips, and because I sincerely believe in get out and drive philosophy. And in that sense, they all see the road all the time in all conditions. An M3 CSL is a very special car. It's a joy every time I'm behind the wheel. To go into further details, this 17 extra horsepower came with the carbon fiber airbox, special cams and special engine tuning to bring that horsepower out. They were only produced in this silver gray color or sapphire black color. Only two colors were ever available. And the only thing I made to this car after my ownership is installing AP Racing big brake kit and KW Club Sport coilovers, which I believe helps the handling significantly, especially on track. Other than that, it's got some lightweight bits like lightweight battery, which I added later, and some oil catch can. But to be honest, to make this car 100% on top of things, you don't need to add too much. In this case, actually, you add lightness. So overall, I love this to bits, and it's one of my favorite cars, and I hope to keep it in my collection for years to come, and hopefully pass on to the next generation, my sons one day. Since we're talking about track specials, let's move on to the E36 M3 GT. This is a very special car in the BMW M's history. The name GT comes from the FIA GT Championship, and this car has been produced to homologate the differences that's been made to the race car. So BMW had to make some road versions, and they only made 356 of them. 6 of them being prototypes and 350 sold to the customers. And this is car number 179. It's the only one in the country. It's been imported here back in '95, and I had this like 3 years ago. And after my ownership, this has gone through a huge restorations, which you may see some images of. And basically, it's close to a ground up restoration. It's also a very special car. It's also been a car of my dreams. I've been dreaming about this car for like more than 12, 13 years, and I had to negotiate with the owners for 10 years to sell it to me. And eventually he agreed to sell it because he moved out of the country. So otherwise it would still stay with him. So gladly I did the full restoration. I love it to bits as well. To give some specifics about the car, similar to the CSL, it's got a little power hike, which is from 286 horsepower to 295, thanks to the camshafts, Vanos tuning, and some lightweight components. This is, if I'm not wrong, 45 kilograms lighter than a regular M3, E36 M3. This is the first time that aluminum doors were used on these cars. And after this, with the Evo engines, 3.2 liters, they started using the doors. What's different about the M3 GT from the regular E36 M3? It has an adjustable front splitter and a high-rise rear spoiler. They all came in this beautiful British racing green color with a matching green and Alcantara interior. And it was the first car by BMW that used carbon fiber trims as options inside the car, which was a big deal back in 1995, because only cars like Ferrari F40 and McLaren F1 were the only ones using carbon bits inside the car. So for BMW, this car was a milestone in experimenting new products and materials. It's a joy to drive. It's also matching my driver's license year. So this was a car that I was looking up to. This was my first dream car, and I'm blessed to say that I have it in my collection today. Talking about E36, let's move into another one. Not an M3 this time, but E36/8, which is BMW Z3M. And in this case, M Coupe, which is the desirable hatchback version. This is the newest addition to my garage, but to be honest, I had this car like 8 or 9 years ago, and I sold it to a friend to get the CSL. But luckily, last year, he agreed to sell it back to me because it was something I was regretting a little bit to let go. So it returned home, so to speak. And this has recently been through a restoration as well. Not as ground up as the M3 GT, but tiny things added up to being an overhaul after all. And it's just been recently finished actually. It returned to the garage a couple days ago only. And I wanted to share this with you as well. So as some of you may know, this is the M Coupe. This was designed as a roadster first by BMW M, but then chassis flexibility wasn't up to the standards of the engineers. So in Hideout, they did this experimental coupe form, or coupe in Europe, some would say, to add some rigidity to the chassis. When it first came out, it was controversial. Some people loved it, some people hated it. To be honest, I wasn't in love with it when it first came out, but as years went by, it grew on me. It's kind of like a beautifully ugly sort of car, but I just can't live without it. It's my favorite shape, and it's a hooligan of a car. No traction control, nothing. It's got 3.2 liter S50 B32 engine, which is the upgraded version of the one in the M3 GT. 321 horsepower. It's completely stock engine-wise at the moment. I'm planning some exhaust changes and maybe a carbon fiber airbox in the future. This particular car is one of only 8 in the country and the only one in titanium silver color with Imola red and black two-tone interior spec. It's just a wild car to drive, to feel inside, and it turns heads like no other car in my garage. I love the funkiness of it, and it's pure joy to drive. It's timeless, and I hope you like it too. And And finally, I saved the best for the ending. So this is my 1987 BMW M3, aka E30 M3. It's the first M3 ever made, and it's unarguably my favorite car in the garage. I have a special bond with this car. I had it for 14 years now. We've gone through hell with it. The restoration was a headache, both financially and physically. And this car, believe it or not, has seen 8 countries. So I took it to very long trips. It's seen the tops of the Swiss Alps and also coasts of the French Riviera, Nürburgring, Spa, Francorchamps, different tracks all around the world, all around Europe, to be honest. But it's just pure joy. I mean, I even have a picture of this car in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. So imagine Istanbul to Paris is a long way, and it takes some passion to go through with it. I love this car more than anything. It even has a name, which is called Henna, which comes from its paint code actually. It's called Henna Red, which is my favorite color of this car anyway. And the specific thing about the Henna Red is it was only produced in the first year of production and first half year of the production. So this is one of the rarest colors of E30 M3s ever. This car was produced more than 15 units, but only the first 5,000 versions were the homologation specials, which were used to homologate the DTM cars, and this is one of those first 5,000, even actually in the first 2,000. So this gives it a special feeling as well. What I've done to this car is I fitted a carbon fiber airbox, which is a must for these cars. It's got special Bilstein suspensions, short shift kits. It's got Recaro seats inside, which all helps me with the joy of driving actually. And overall, everything I do with this car, I did it personally by hand. So this always is a special place, and this is also a symbol of our family as well. So when my kids come over to play in the garage and fool around, they are always surrounded. I don't know, maybe it's the color or something, or maybe because it's small and cute. So Henna is the best of the bunch in my opinion. So, I hope you like my little man cave hobby garage here in Istanbul. And if any of you enthusiasts ever in town, just send us a message or email through our social media feeds, and we'd be happy to show you around. I'd like to thank Petersen Automotive Museum for this privilege. It's been an honor to be featured in their channel. If you like our adventures, are interested in these type of cars, you can follow us with the name DRIVEN34 in almost all social media platforms. Thank you again for the privilege, Petersen Auto Museum, and thank you to the enthusiasts for watching. Have a nice day.